Perhaps the most commonly used argument against raising the minimum wage is that supposedly if you do that, it will then lead to job eliminations. The idea is you're trying to help people, but in fact you're getting them fired. I hear that all the time. And I don't know how many people will change their mind about that based on data being presented to them, but I'm going to try anyway, because we have a new study that analyzed the effect on jobs of not just one time that they raised the minimum wage, or like 5, it was 137 different cases where the minimum wage was raised. They looked at how it affected jobs, and let's take a look at this chart. It's gonna be a little bit complicated, but what you're seeing there is right on the side of $0 to $1 around the new minimum wage, you have jobs that pay slightly less going down by between 1 and 1.5%. It looks big because of the scale of the chart, but it's 1.5%. And then the jobs that pay a little bit more than the new minimum wage go up by between 1, well, it looks like it's right at 1.5%. The rest of those bars are actually basically nothing. They're not statistically significant. So what you have there is that the decline in jobs paying less than the new minimum wage is offset by an increase in those paying more. And even if it wasn't, it's 1.5%. But thankfully it is. Hey, good news. Jobs further up the pay scale are largely unaffected. And they mention there again that it's not statistically significant. So this is 137 different instances where they raised the minimum wage, giving us experiences in both cities and non-cities across the country over time, many different situations. It does not kill jobs. They'll continue to say it. Politicians and conservative pundits will continue to use that as an excuse to not set the minimum wage at a livable, humane level, but the data is simply not there. Take it up with science.
So the one case that they love to refer to is the Seattle case. Now, the person who pushed through the higher minimum wage in Seattle was Kshama Sawant. I actually had her on Rebel headquarters fairly recently. You can check out that interview at youtube.com/TYTpolitics, and hopefully we'll put a link down below in the description box for that as well. And the minimum wage went up to $15. In that one study, they found out that it did hurt employment a little bit in Seattle. Now, the person who analyzed that study, not the one who did it, but analyzed it, the one outside person who analyzed it, at the time it said, well, that seems to be what the study indicates, and it's fair to point that out. Then he, having looked at the 137 studies that John is referring to, he was like, yeah, never mind. Because I don't know if you know this, and scientists do know this, they're really good at math. 137 is larger than 1. and so now, even so, the scientists that look at this and say, okay, guys, look, I know it's easy to jump to conclusions in how it's covered in the news day in, day out, and people will use it for their own political benefits. But even these have not been peer reviewed enough. You got to do peer review, you got to do this the right way, and then you can reach conclusions. So, and then one of the folks involved in the first study, I believe, went on to make an interesting point. So we'll have to see if it's borne out. Now, it is not something that is to our political advantage, but we try as hard as we can to not color the facts for you guys, give you the facts, and then we'll give you our opinions. So he says the reason why Seattle employment might have been hurt a little bit based on that one study is because the jump in minimum wage was so significant. And he says that jump was about 37% from the previous minimum wage, and for the meta study of 137 cases where the minimum wage has gone up, the overall jump was 10%. So the minimum wage was only increased by 10% on average. So when you only increase it by 10%, it usually does not lead to less employment. In fact, it leads to slightly more employment and at higher wages. So, and again, let that get peer reviewed, etc. So if you want to take away from that before the peer reviews, hey, maybe we might not want to do a 37% jump in the minimum wage. You're ironically abruptly, right? And you're ironically punishing the places that have the lowest minimum wage by not increasing them higher. But I get it, and it is relevant data that you could look at. So don't get colored by your own perspective. Look at the facts first, see what they come up with. And if it turns out they look at 137, 237 cases, and we might have that soon, because the national minimum wage is so low that a lot of localities are changing it on their own, which then creates all these different experiments. Tulsa might change it by 5%, Seattle might change it by 37%, and Oklahoma might bring it down, right? Oh, and you have all these different, well, you can't bring it down past $7.25 because that's the national minimum wage. But it creates all these experiments and allows people to come up with a lot more studies then peer review them, and then we'll have much more definitive answers. Whether you like those answers or you don't, I think that they're really interesting and will be indicative of something. And then I would look at it, and if they told me, no, it turns out if you jump minimum wage more than 25% at one time, it does cost some jobs, I'd go, well, then that's what it does. And so let's think about how to do this right. Because the correct answer isn't the one you had before the facts, it's the one you have after the facts.
It does appear that the gradual raising of the wage as opposed to this sudden increase, and there has to be a threshold, right? At some point, well, and that's what Cenk's saying, that at some point we'll know exactly what that threshold is, at least for the majority of the time. It does appear that that's the most effective way to raise the minimum wage, but the minimum wage criticisms have been associated with, fewer jobs, and this would seem to shoot that out of the water. And also, it's a drag on the economy, right? It costs businesses more now, will employ fewer people, and that's been pretty well disproven. I mean, it becomes actually an engine of the economy once people have more money. That gets more money into the system. So. Yeah, there are a few conclusions to be made, and it's tough to get these peer review studies now because there is such a demand on information, right? We want, tell me, what does your study on minimum wage say? We need to know right now. You know, I need to publish it, and so it's harder and harder to get this research out there. But it does appear as though these rises and increases in the minimum wage really do help the overall economy and do help the joblessness problem.
Yeah, and it goes without saying, but helps the people who are suddenly making slightly more of a reasonable wage.
An actual living wage.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I hope that this is widely published and people talk about this and all that, but is it going to convince Paul Ryan and a lot of other people? Is it going to convince a lot of no, because they can say all they want that they're just worried about job losses, but they don't care at all about that. Here's what you don't need a study to know about the effective raise of minimum wage, is that you have to pay people more. That I know happens, and they don't want that. They don't care about any of the consequences of it. They don't want to pay you at all. They want to pay you zero if they can.
All that rhetoric about the middle class, all that rhetoric about the working man, all that rhetoric about being the party of the working people, it's total BS. And as John says, it's completely intellectually dishonest. They just don't want more money going to those people who are making minimum wage.
And one more thing about logic and facts. Look, corporations are not allowed to care about your feelings. They have to maximize profit. So what is one way, logically, that they would maximize profit? Well, it is to suppress your wages, so every penny you make is a penny of profit they don't make. So they were going to bring down your wages to the lowest possible point until they reach a breaking point and people won't work for them anymore. So that they must do that. They have a fiduciary responsibility to do that. So now the second way you'd make money is you'd buy politicians on the open market, because that we have a system that allows for legalized bribery in America. Because why? Because the politicians will then make sure the minimum wage does not increase, so that all those extra pennies and dollars stay in the corporations as profit and not paid to their employees. And so that's all of this is very, very logical. That is why when you have a study like the Seattle study, that's 1 out of the 137. And I looked to see here at the Washington Post story, who did this study? Was it the Koch brothers, et cetera? But it wasn't. It was legitimate actors and professors, et cetera. By actors, I don't mean it as in
Brad
TV
Pitt
movies,
it.
right? Honest actors and professionals who did the study. So it's a legitimate study you should look at. But to John's point, then the people who have a vested interest in keeping your wages low took that study and did propaganda to no end, nonstop talking about it, as if it's the only study ever done on minimum wages.
And as if it has anything to say about more gradual, smaller changes happening in places other than Seattle.
So it's likely that the only study you'll ever hear about outside of this show is the Seattle study, right? But in reality, there's 137 studies, and they actually say the opposite of what the Seattle study says. Overall, it not only increases the number of jobs, but don't forget, it also increases your wages. And there are a lot of people who don't want to increase your wages that are now publicizing the 1 instead of the 137 study. What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You could watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. tytnetwork.com/join.